All right, so today we're looking at Billboard's 100 greatest rap albums of all time. And I will start this off immediately by saying that Billboard is not very good at making lists. It's not like they use like a lot of metrics involved. Typically, it's more like generational. Like they get certain groups of or certain people from certain generations, they get them together and they're like, okay, cool. What are your favorite rap albums? That's basically like how they run it. And I mean, that's cool and all, but the problem with that is that oftentimes like albums get omitted. You know how this stuff works. And so the last time we did this, the list was like the greatest rappers of all time. And honestly, the list was a little shocking to some. To me, it wasn't as surprising, but it was a situation where it was like, yeah, it makes sense. So now we're looking at Billboard's new list of the greatest rap albums of all time. You may have already been spoiled on this list, possibly, potentially. Like if you were like on the internet, you may already know who number one is. That's fine. We're going live on Twitch right now. So we're doing this in real time over here on Twitch. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is the edited version, which means I cut out any crazy stuff that may not have worked. But I'm pretty good at these videos, so I usually don't cut anything out for the most part. But if you want to catch this live, follow me on Twitch. I'll put the link in the description, and you can participate because I'm doing this more and more often. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. Let's see here. I got the list up right here. And like I said, we're not going to spoil anything. You may already know who number one is. I'm just going to kind of scroll through and take a look at some of these options on here. Before I do that, make sure you guys do follow me because, like I said, I'm about to crank out a whole gang of content. It's going to get crazy over here in the content department. So if you like content and stuff like that, make sure you follow your boy. And right now I'm making sure that I have enough space in my hard drive to do this before I get too deep because I'm recording this. All right, bet. Let's go ahead and get going here. Let's go ahead and get this window up again. Boopity bow, boop. What happened? There we go. Haha. All right, tight. So now we're going into this 100 greatest rap albums of all time, according to Billboard. And as you can see already, there's like a list of names. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 names who determine this list. We're not going to like attack these people or even like care who these people are for the most part. I'm sure they're important in the field that they're in. And that's what's important. So we are going to go ahead and take a look at this list. Let's dive into it. So let's see how they did this. There's a whole little description here. We're not going to read all this. You guys can go read it, but I'm pretty sure it's like a summary of hip hop. Let's read the first paragraph just for the sake of, dexterity. Hip hop has spoiled us. In the 50 years since a group of kids decided to throw a party in the Bronx, the genre has blossomed and grown in ways Kool Herc couldn't imagine. Hip hop left New York and moved to South Atlanta, Miami, Memphis, and Houston, and west to Chicago and St. Louis. It took up shop in Los Angeles and the Bay Area and reinvented itself by moving back across the country. And in that time, as it worked its way across the country, we've been fortunate to experience a seemingly endless amount of incredible, culture-shifting, delectable classic albums. Cool. There's more to read. Let's go ahead and get into this list. You guys, so you go back and read it if you want to. Y'all can read. So we got Little Baby. Number 100. This is already kind of crazy. Already kind of crazy off rip. I haven't heard this album. Please weigh in the comments. Please let me know. But like already off rip, it's like I could probably think of 100 albums that are better than this album. Maybe. Even though I haven't even heard it. That I guess that's the old head hater in me. But number 100 is Little Baby. Cool. Good for them. We got E40 in a Major Way. It's a great album. I was actually listening to Do or Die just last night. Do or Die is extremely underrated. I definitely feel like they're one of those groups that you don't really hear about in the conversation, but when you look at like what they've done in terms of influence, especially with the song Po Pimpin', that song like changed hip hop in ways that we didn't quite expect. It's crazy. It's crazy. Ghetto Boys, You Can't Be Stopped. That's a great album. Let me turn off my Telegram here real quick so I ain't getting no more messages here. Run DMC, Raising Hell. See, that's an album that I actually think would be a lot higher or should be a lot higher, but it's not. LL Cool J Mama said knock you out. Cool with that. That's fine. EPMD, business as usual. BG, interesting choice. BG's album is probably actually easily one of the best albums to come out of that Cash Money run. Somebody Help is my jam. That might have been the Hot Boys album. I actually don't remember. I just remember BG's album being very good and compared to like what was coming out at the time. So it's cool they include him on there. 3-6 Mafia, Mystic Styles. Okay. I see y'all. So far, I'm not mad at this list. Migos Culture at number 91. Okay, that's fair. Man, the ads are going crazy on this page, though. It is ad nauseum. They won't show me the photos, but they'll show me the ads. Anyways, Migos' first album is actually extremely important in terms of, like, the overall sonic of hip-hop and the direction of where hip-hop turned to. It definitely was with this album. And in hindsight, it's one of those things where you're like, man, Migos actually really did do a lot of damage and made a massive impact on hip-hop. It's sad where they're at now. You know what I'm saying? Like, we look at their story and where they're at now, it's crazy. But as is life, man. As is life. Far Side, The Bizarre Ride 2. Great album. Amazing album. This album is actually fantastic. If you haven't heard this album, go check it out. This is like hip-hop at its core. I would actually even put this a little bit higher, but we'll see what else is on the list. Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet. This is actually probably one of the most important albums of all time. Not just in hip-hop, just in terms of like overall vibe. Like, this album is extremely important in those regards. It's one of those things where you really should go listen to it just so you can know the history of hip-hop and where it came from. Definitely like a must listen album. So if you haven't listened to the album, please do. It's important. Like I said, I think the importance of this album should be higher, but that's a different discussion. Ice-T, OG, Original Gangster, yes. 88, sure. That's actually solid. Like I said, so far I'm not mad at this list. This list is actually pretty good so far. There's no shocks or like, I think the Little Baby coming in at 100 was a little weird. Because like I said, I could probably think of 100 albums that are better than that one. But to be fair, I haven't listened to the album, and I'm not trying to be a hater. But at the same time, I'd be hating, so you know how it goes. Things Fall Apart by The Roots is actually one of my personal favorite albums of all time. This would probably be a top 50 album for me personally. The Roots, Things Fall Apart, it's an amazing album. Gave us Jill Scott. A lot came from that album. It's dope. The Game documentary, easily the best Game album for sure. That first album was crazy. First Game album was nuts. So good for him. Outkast, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, great album. I think all Outkast's albums should be on this list. I'd be surprised. I think the only omission I could think of that I would probably take off would be Idlewild. But all the other albums for sure should probably be on this list. It's interesting that this one came in at number 85, but we'll keep it moving. The DOC, No One Can Do It Better. Nice. I rock with that. That's fair. The DOC is one of those artists who is like one of the biggest what if stories in hip hop, to where like if he didn't like lose his voice or lose his ability to rap, he probably would be one of the greatest rappers of all time. But you know, he got delegated to writing for the most part. So as is life, man. Life be handing you lemons, turn them into lemonade. What else do we got on here? Diplomats, Diplomatic Immunity. Fair. I'm not mad at that. MC Light, Light as a Rock. Cool. Missy Elliott, So Addictive. That's actually probably one of my personal favorite albums. Top 50 album for me. I used to listen to this album nonstop, all the time, back to back. The hits that came out of that album, 1 Minute Man, Get Your Freak On, like that album was great. Missy Elliott, man, I'm telling you, she's literally like one of the most important artists in the history of this rap shit, dude. It's crazy. Roddy Ricch, please excuse me for being antisocial. I understand the impact of his singles that came out, but I never actually dove deep enough into this album to consider it one of the greatest albums of all time. And with that said, that puts a lot of pressure on this dude if he's on this list because I feel like he didn't fall off, but like his buzz definitely died after the box because it's kind of hard to top massive hit singles. He definitely got hit with that one hit wonder vibe. I know he's trying to come back right now, but that song is a diamond single, so it's crazy to have like your first big single go diamond. How do you really like top that? You know what I'm saying? Let's see. We got Travis Scott, Astro World, solid album, 79. I'm cool with that. Villainy. If I say it right. MF Doom's the man. If you don't know about MF Doom, you better catch up. This album would probably be a little bit higher actually too. 8 Ball MJG coming out hard. Okay. This is a great album. I remember when they signed the Bad Boy, that was just weird for me. Kind of like, man, they don't really need Bad Boy, and then didn't really hear much for them after that. You got Cypress Hill 76, their debut album, great album. XXXTentacion 17, sure. His impact was massive over the short amount of time that he was around. Chief Keef, Finally Rich, sure, at 74. Redman, Muddy Waters. This is a great album. If you haven't heard Muddy Waters from Redman, go check it out. This is like where the dude really popped out and had to show people how to do rap. Like Redman is one of the most underrated rap. I wouldn't even call him underrated because I think like a lot of rappers give him a lot of love in the grand scheme of things. But like, yeah. Little Uzi Vert, Love is Rage 2, which is the new one, right? No, 2017. So Love is Rage 2 is the one that had the massive hit singles on it. So that's fair. Little Uzi Vert is actually a generational talent for sure. So he does deserve a spot on this list. Most Def, Black on Both Sides. Okay. I actually would put this album a little bit higher for sure. Especially with when you look at the impact that Most Def has had, like generationally. Like everybody, JID, Jid, all these rappers are putting Most Def like on the top of their list because of his dexterity and how he rolls. So it's interesting that he's a little bit low on this list. Nicki Minaj, Pink Friday, sure. And keep scrolling. The Throne. Watch The Throne. Amazing album, man. In my opinion, I feel like Jay-Z got washed by Kanye and all over this album. Like Kanye went Super Saiyan on the rap and went crazy. The production's solid. This album actually came out the same day that my son was born. So I actually have a big, strong attachment to this album. Like it really connects with me strong for that reason. There's a song on there where they rap about their kids, and it's like, oh man, I remember crying on the way to the hospital. We had a C-section and listening to that song. So that album has a special place in my heart overall. Lil Wayne, The Carter 3, yes, yes, I think it's fine at 67. That's solid. I'm not mad at that. Cameron, Come Home With Me, okay. T.I.'s Trap Music 65. Warren G. Regulate, G-Funk Era, very important album. Very, very important album. Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. So fun fact, Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders was actually the first hip-hop album I ever bought. Fell in love with hip-hop. Wanted to go buy one. This is the album that I bought. I think I bought it on tape. I don't even remember, but I just remember having this album and just falling in love with it. For me, this is a top 20 album. It'd be a lot higher for me, but is what it is. I wonder if they use AI to put this all together. The Carter 2. See, I would put Carter 3 higher than Carter 2. I think Carter 3 had a bigger impact than Carter 2. If you're going to put both on the list. J. Cole's Forest Hills Drive. That's actually my favorite J. Cole album so far in his life. Victory Lap, Nipsey Hussle. Incredible album. No, rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. I think that that's a solid entry. 58. This list is good so far, man. I know people were tripping about it, but so far this list is, I'm not mad at this list. There's a few weird things on here, but for the most part, it's pretty solid, man. Nas Is It Was Written. So for me, Nas It Was Written is actually my favorite Nas album. I think it's better than Illmatic. I think it's better than most of the stuff. If I were to choose one Nas album to listen to, it would be It Was Written. That's my personal favorite album from Nas. And to me, it's a top 10 album. I feel like it should be a lot higher on this list. It's not. It's cool. I didn't make the list. GZA, Liquid Swords. GZA was actually another album. Liquid Swords was another album that I got introduced to hip hop and really got into the lyricism and storytelling. That album really, really changed me. my sister's boyfriend actually got me into that album really deep, and I kind of fell in love with Wu-Tang after that. It's crazy. Outkast, Stankonia. Yes. I think Stankonia was probably like their weirdest effort. And I think for me, it's their most appreciated effort for me. I like all their albums, don't get me wrong. But that one was the one where they're like, all right, let's try and push the fucking threshold a little bit and do some crazy shit. Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly. All right. You know, Kendrick Lamar's been a hot topic all damn year. I think this album is extremely important. I think it's a strong album. I think it's an album that is a must listen if you're a hip hop fan, 100%. So yeah, check that out. Drake, Nothing Was the Same. Yeah. That's actually my favorite Drake album. So it'll be interesting to see if Drake has a higher entry on here. I almost guarantee that Take Care is probably going to be higher on this list. But Nothing Was the Same was definitely my favorite album from Drake. For show. Common B. Common B is a top 50 album. They got it at 52. That's fair. But I think Common B is another album that you have to like listen to. If you're really into hip hop, you really should listen to that album. Queen Latifah, All Hail the Queen at 51. Solid. Teflon Don, Rick Ross. That's his first entry or second entry. I think it's his second or third, but it had Maybach music on it. The album goes crazy, man. And Rick Ross, like, he's really, really good at choosing beats. That's like his strong suit, is having the ear for like very amazing production. I will always check out a Rick Ross album just to hear what he chose for beats, because that's how good he is at choosing beats. His beat game is cray. Let's see. We got Lil' Kim's Hardcore at 49. It's interesting we got the cover for this, but not the other ones. I don't know what's going on with that. My situation is just not situated properly. But I digress. Very important album. This album basically gave you all the female rappers that you have now. From the Ice Spices to the Glorillas to even the Nicki Minaj's. It all started with this album, Lil' Kim. So props to her. Big Punisher, Capital Punishment, another fantastic album. I don't have a lot to say about it, but Big Punisher is underrated at this point. I don't think we talk about him enough, but he also has a checkered past, as most rappers do. So, you know. Clips, Lord Willin'. Yeah, solid, 47. I'm not mad at that. Boogie Down Productions, Criminal Minded. Another piece of history that's like, well, a must listen to, where you should definitely check that out. Shout out to, you know, KRS-One and that whole squad. Hip hop's crazy, man, when you think about like where it started from and like where it's at now. A lot of stuff went down, man. Beastie Boys. I was actually wondering if they're going to be on here. Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique is a very important album. You know, they're the pioneers of white rap, and they're also the pioneers of like rap in general, just in terms of like the lane that they carved and the audience they drew in. Without the Beastie Boys, you probably wouldn't have. You would have the introduction of hip hop to white audiences much later in the game. So they're extremely important. Juvenile, 400 Degrees, man. That's a banger. Good album, great album. You know, the Cash Money Records movement in the 99 and 2000 was crazy, man. If you just kind of had to be there to understand like the impact, and it gave us Lil Wayne, who's one of the greatest rappers of all time. And Juvenile was like the leader of all that, basically. Juvenile and Manny Fresh, kind of depends on who you ask. Ghostface Killah, Supreme Clientele is an incredible album, bro. It's an incredible album. For me, personally, it's a top 20 album. It's like seeing Ghostface go Super Saiyan. The production is top notch. Like, I think about some of the songs on there right now. Do over. It's a great album, bro. Check that shit out. Jay-Z's The Black Album. Cool. I would actually put this album lower. Be interesting to see the blueprints on here. We'll find out here in a second. Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City. You know, one of the most successful albums in recent years. Top 40 was actually 41, not top 40. I'm cool with that. I'm wondering if they're going to put his other albums on here, or if that's like Kendrick's highest entry. We'll find out here in a second. Bone Thugs, East 99, Eternal. Incredible moment in history. Bone Thugs and Harmony put their foot in the industry's ass for this game. It's crazy. No homo, no Diddy, whatever we saying. Like, for real, like this album, it's kind of sad to see that Bone Thugs not being more successful nowadays, but like the fact that they came in and did what they did with this album is like mind-blowing to me. Future, Dirty Sprite 2. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he was on a crazy mixtape run. Dirty Sprite 2 is definitely like the peak of that, 100%. And Future's one of those artists that we're going to look back on and be like, man, this dude actually really did impact a lot of stuff. Now, I can make a whole different video about Future, but we're not going to do that today. We're talking about this list. Gangstar, Hard to Earn. I have no qualms about this being 38. I actually might even put this a little bit higher, but 38 solid. I'm not tripping on that too much, but you know, like I said, I didn't make this list, so let's see. Machiavelli, the 7 Day Theory. Is this the first Tupac entry on this thing? I think this is actually the very first Tupac entry, which makes you think there's going to be like 5 Tupac out entries in the top 35. So we'll see in a second. Young Jeezy, Let's Get It. Important album. Thug Motivation number 101. Young Jeezy, that 3 album run was crazy, dog. It's crazy. LL Cool J's Radio, sure. Big Daddy Kane, It's a Big Daddy Thing, sure. Scarface The Fix, incredible album. Incredible album. Once again, a must listen. Go check that album out if you haven't. I think 33 is a good spot for that. I'm not mad at that. Really not. Take Care. There's Drake. Oh, we skipped one. Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt at 32, which is cool with me. Is Reasonable Doubt Jay-Z's best album? No, I would say The Blueprint is. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see The Blueprint earlier or later on in this list. Drake, Take Care at 31. This is probably going to be Drake's highest entry. I can't think of another album that would be higher than Take Care in terms of critical acclaim from Drake. Eminem. This is Eminem's first entry on here. It might be his only. We'll see. In my opinion, the Eminem Show is better and Eminem's best album by far. We'll see if it makes the top 20. For me personally, it's a top 10 album, but I don't think it's gonna make top 10. This might be the only entry you see for Eminem. Cardi B, Invasion of Privacy. You cannot deny, dog, that the impact of this album. Every single song on this album was platinum. Every single song. It's crazy. There's so much pressure on Cardi B to drop like another album on the same caliber. That's why you haven't got a follow-up to it, because there's just so much pressure on her to get it done. It's sad. I mean, she could just never drop again and be fine, but you would like to think that she would be not held to such crazy constraints. But it is what it is. Mobb Deep, The Infamous. Yes, absolutely. 28. I would actually even say top 20, but Kanye West, The College Dropout. Is this the first Kanye West entry on here? Because so, it's going to get crazy. That means we're probably going to have like at least 3 Kanye West albums in this on the top 25. We're going to see in a second. Because to me personally, College Dropout is cool. But if I were to choose the greatest Kanye West album of all time, it'd probably be My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And then I would also even squeeze Graduation in there too. So we'll see. Wu-Tang, Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers. Absolutely. This is a top 20 album. I'm surprised it's at 26 actually. That's kind of crazy to me. But I don't make these rules. I'm just reading y'all this list. Let's see. Also with Wu-Tang too, it's like they had so many different types of albums. Oh, we just got a page break here. Let's see. Is this gonna work? Oh, here we go. Fugees, The Score. Incredible album. This is a top 10 album. Especially when you look at like the longevity that these people have gotten off this album. Like to this day, you could drop Ready or Not in the club and it'll still go crazy. Same with Killing Me Softly. Like those are like universal bangers. To the point where it's like, yeah, man. Definitely would have to give it to them as a top 20 album. So now we're in the top 25. So now we're in the top 25 greatest albums of all time. According to Billboard, they just dropped this list, and we're going to actually take a look and see. Once again, if you're enjoying this content, please follow, like, and do all the stuff that people do on here. So yeah, we got the Fugees at number 25, which is dope. Like I said, that's a great album to me. One of the greatest albums of all time, if I had to choose. Notorious B.I.G. Ready to Die at 24. That's pretty low, man. That's pretty low. That's like shockingly low for me. I feel like most people would have this album in their top 10. Most hip hop heads. I know there's a lot of people who don't like Biggie, but if you have respect for Biggie and what he did with this album and the impact it had, it's a top 10 album. So it's kind of crazy to me that it's not on here. That's nuts. Kanye West Graduation at 23. Like I said, like Graduation and Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy are easily better than College Dropout, and you had College Dropout at 27. So yeah. Dr. Dre 2001. I think this is a top 10 album. I might have hit my limit on top 10 albums though. I might have said that 10 times. So maybe I'm wrong. DMX is Dark and Hell is Hot. Amazing album. If you haven't heard it, DMX went on a crazy run, man. Those first 3 albums that he dropped are just pow, pow, pow. This one kind of kicked it all off, and this is still one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time for sure. No arguments there. Missy Elliott, Super Duper Fly. Man, Missy Elliott in the top 20. Respect. I mean, this album really did. The thing that I love the most about Missy Elliott is that every album that she dropped, at least up to a certain point, literally changed the sonic soundscape of hip hop and like the direction that it was going. She just introduced new stuff every time. It was crazy. Number 19, Public Enemy. It Takes a Nation to Hold Us Back. Absolutely. I mean, I already said that Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet should be higher, but they put It Takes a Nation at number 19. No argument there. This album had massive impact. It changed the world, honestly. So I think that, yeah, that's a good one. NWA is Straight Outta Compton is a good one. I like that. De La Soul, number 17, sure. 3 Feet High and Rising is a great album. I would definitely say it's a top 20 album. Ice Cube, America's Most Wanted, sure. Absolutely solid. Kendrick Lamar's Damn at 15. Oh. Interesting. I think this is actually the first time on the list where I'm like, no. I would definitely put Good Kid, Mad City as Kendrick Lamar's best album. With that said, I think that every single one of Kendrick Lamar's albums, at least the first 4 that he dropped or whatever, not including Untitled Unmastered or Section 80, are worthy of being on this list. With that said, I would put Damn below Good Kid, Mad City. I think if you're going to put Kendrick Lamar on this list, Good Kid, Mad City should be number 15. I think this is the biggest misstep that they made in this list. And you can argue with me in the comments if you want to, but that's just my opinion. I think that was just wrong. This should be Good Kid, Mad City. I digress. Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is not in the top 10. Alright. 14's cool, but I also feel like Kanye's the scrutiny and controversy always affects his position on these lists. Like even when I did the top artist list, the top greatest hip hop artist list of all time, whatever, when I did that list, Kanye was at number 11. And I think they put Nicki Minaj over Kanye. And it's like, that's because of all the stuff that's going on. If you actually look at the numbers, look at the math, Kanye is by far worthy of being on the top 10 greatest rappers of all time. Y'all put 3 of his albums in the top 25, but you won't give him the greatest album of all time. I'm pretty sure there's only one Nicki Minaj album out here. Just saying, Billboard, get your consistency together because it doesn't make any sense in terms of how you guys do this. If the artist has 3 fucking albums in the top 25 greatest albums of all time, he's not top 10 in the Billboard chart for greatest rappers of all time. But the artist you put above him only has 1, and it's in the top 60. Y'all are goofy. Make that make sense? That makes 0 sense to me. Anyways, we're gonna keep it moving. A Tribe Called Quest, The Low End Theory, absolutely. That album was actually crazy, dog. Q-Tip, he just deserves his flowers, man. Like he already gets his flowers, but like when you look at his impact and like the artists he influenced and the things that he's done, Q-Tip's a goat, man. Raekwon, only built for a Cuban Links. Yes. I actually kind of forgot about this album, to be honest, but yes, one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time, hands down. I don't think there's a lot of debate on that. If you debate it, it's because you probably haven't really heard it, but that album went crazy. It hit crazy too, like when it came out. 50 Cent, Get Rich Die Trying at number 11. Sure. I would even put it a little bit higher, honestly. Slick Rick, The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick. I would probably switch these two. Honestly, I would probably put 50 Cent at number 10, Slick Rick at number 11. I think that's fair, but once again, I didn't make this list. I'm just here, living. Jay-Z, The Blueprint at number 9. Solid. I'm not mad at that. We'll keep scrolling. Oh, my list is acting weird. Are they going to let me see? Let's see. Here we go. Eric B. and Rakim's Paid in Full at number 8. I would probably put this lower. I would probably actually switch this with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I think Paid in Full is a very important album. I think this album is extremely important. But I would probably switch this with Kanye's, which came in at what, like 14? Something like that? Yeah. That's just me, though. And I'm not even trying to be on like Kanye's Johnson about it. I'm just looking at like the impact. I'm sure there's gonna be people who say that I'm wrong, but the impact of Kanye's album was crazy, dog. Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style, sure. I was wondering where this album was gonna end up at. Tap number 7 is fine, I guess. It's a little dated, but fine. Tupac, All Eyes on Me. I guess I was wrong. I thought there was gonna be like 3 Tupac albums on here, but there's only 2, and you got Tupac, All Eyes on Me at number 6. So, yeah, man, I think that this album culturally was the most impactful, but he definitely has better music. And I also think that Tupac was just going through such like a tumultuous time. And this album is like such a crazy timestamp for like what happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy to think about when you actually like go back reflectively on this album and like the era that it was in. Notorious B.I.G. Life After Death at number 5. I love this album. It's been a while since I've listened to it, but I absolutely love this album. I remember listening to this album nonstop for like a year straight. Top 10 album for me. They agree. It's coming in number 5. That's fine by me. Let's see. We got Outkast Aquemini at number 4. Sure. Yeah, I think Outkast Aquemini is probably their best album. I do believe it's a top 10 album. I'm not mad at number 4. That's actually solid. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's cool by me. Lauryn Hill, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, number 3. This album is just, one of those albums that right place, right time, right people creating timeless art. The songs on here are timeless. And I know we make jokes about Lauryn Hill where it's like, oh, she's always late and she doesn't put out enough music and all this stuff, but she doesn't kind of need to. It's almost like a Cardi B situation where like Cardi B, she dropped that album, Invasion of Privacy, and it's one of those things where it's like she doesn't have to ever drop an album ever again. Lauryn Hill did the same thing with this album. She was like the first to do it. Like she just dropped the Forever album that you don't have to worry about her ever popping up again. But apparently she's coming out with new music. So we're going to see here. All right. So we're in the last 2 albums of all time, greatest albums of all time, according to Billboard. It is Dr. Dre's The Chronic, which I agree. Just the impact. I mean, Dr. Dre, like there was a lot of pressure on this album for it to do what it needed to do. And because it did what it needed to do, it gave us everything. It gave us Eminem. It gave us Kendrick. It gave us Snoop. It gave us 50 Cent. It gave us all this whole lineage of music that basically started with this album. This album is that important. And honestly, just because of all that shit I just said, I believe this album should be number 1. Personally. Just because of the things I just explained in terms of like its overall impact, what it actually did for hip hop, the legacy left behind, the songs were timeless. All these things make this album easily the greatest album of all time. But number 1 is Nas's Illmatic, which, fine. Okay, fine. I can understand why people say that Nas's Illmatic is the greatest album of all time. This kid was freaking 19 on this album. The production is timeless. What he was talking about is timeless. The themes are timeless. The timing was timeless. Everything about this album is great. But as I said earlier, it's not my favorite Nas album. My favorite Nas album would be It Was Written. With that said, I think both of these albums deserve top 20 slots. It's just interesting that when it came down to the final decision, they put Nas over Dre because once again, like the reason why I would put The Chronic at number one is because of the cultural impact that this album had. Like, yes, Nas's Illmatic had a lot of cultural impact and did what it needed to do, but it didn't like spawn a lot of whole things. It didn't give us Kendrick. It didn't give us Eminem. It didn't give us Snoop Dogg. It didn't give us Aftermath Records. It didn't give us like that level of impact after the fact. And so for me personally, it's like, sure, yeah, we'll go ahead and give it to Nas because, like I said, I love Nas. If I had to choose one rapper to listen to for the rest of my life, it probably would be Nas. And his last 6 album run was crazy. He finally got his Grammy. I love Nas. Nas is one of the greatest rappers of all time. There's no arguing that. But to say that Illmatic is the best album of all time is a very, 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 very tough debate. It's tough. I can't just say that without a lot of evidence. Because even if you throw record sales into the conversation and critical acclaim, sure. But record sales, I think Nas's Illmatic just went platinum like a couple years ago. So it's not like it sold a bunch of records, especially compared to The Chronic. So is that a factor? I don't know. You guys can debate about that in the comments. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I appreciate you guys watching. Once again, we did this live on Twitch. So if you want to catch the next reaction lists or whatever I decide to do, including the Jerron Eichner show, which is coming back here very, very soon, exclusively on Twitch. Well, not exclusively. We'll post the episodes on YouTube, but you'll get to see them first on Twitch. Go follow me over there. We're trying to get the Twitch page popping. If you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching. Make sure you guys follow, subscribe, like, and I'll catch you guys at a later date. Y'all take care. Peace.